Overthinking rarely feels like a choice. It feels like an automatic reaction, a mental loop that spins faster the harder you try to stop it. At its core, rumination is often the brain's misguided attempt to protect you, trying to solve every potential future problem or reanalyze past mistakes to eliminate uncertainty. But while thinking leads to clarity, overthinking leads to paralysis. Breaking out of these loops isn't about forcing your brain to think positive or blanking your mind completely. It's about building practical habits to interrupt the cycle, quiet the noise, and regain control over your attention. Here are 5 actionable strategies to stop overthinking. 1. Schedule a daily worry window. Trying to completely suppress intrusive thoughts almost always backfires. Instead of fighting overthinking all day, give it a dedicated time and place. Set aside 15 minutes each day, say at 4:00 p.m., as your official worry window. When an anxious loop pops up during your morning coffee or mid-afternoon meeting, write it down on a notepad and tell yourself, "I'm not ignoring this, but I'll handle it at 4:00 p.m." When your scheduled window arrives, sit down and examine those thoughts freely. You'll often find that half of the things that felt urgent hours earlier have lost their emotional charge. By time-boxing your anxiety, you prevent it from hijacking your entire day. 2. Shift questions from why to how. Overthinking loves open-ended existential questions. Why did I say that? Why does this always happen to me? Why can't I figure this out? These questions keep you trapped in passive rumination, searching for answers that often don't exist. To break the cycle, reframe your internal dialogue toward actionable steps. Instead of, "Why am I so stressed about this project?" ask, "What is the single smallest task I can finish in the next 10 minutes?" Instead of, "Why did that interaction go wrong?" ask, "How can I handle similar situations more clearly next time?" Shifting from why to how moves your mind out of analysis paralysis and back into a problem-solving state. 3. Challenge your thoughts as hypotheses, not facts. When overthinking takes over, your brain treats every worst-case scenario as absolute truth. Cognitive reframing is the practice of catching these mental stories and evaluating them objectively. When you notice a catastrophic thought spiraling, ask yourself 3 quick reality check questions. What is the actual evidence for this thought? What is an alternative, equally plausible explanation? If the absolute worst-case scenario happens, what specific step would I take to handle it? Treating your thoughts as hypotheses rather than facts strips away their power. You don't need to believe every thought that passes through your head. 4. Anchor yourself in the physical body. Overthinking is an entirely head-centered trap. One of the fastest ways to disengage from a mental loop is to shift your attention into your physical body and immediate environment. When your mind starts spinning, use a sensory grounding exercise like the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. 5 things you can see around you right now. 4 things you can physically feel: the ground under your feet, the desk surface. 3 things you can hear. 2 things you can smell. 1 deep, slow exhale. Physical movement, a quick walk, cold water on your face, or simple stretching, interrupts the autonomic arousal that feeds overthinking, signaling to your nervous system that you are safe in the present moment. 5. Adopt the good enough standard for decisions. Perfectionism is the fuel of overthinking. The belief that there is a perfect choice, path, or response leads to endless agonizing over options. In decision-making theory, psychologist Herbert Simon distinguished between maximizers, people who seek the absolute optimal outcome, and satisficers, people who set a clear criteria and choose the first option that meets it. Satisficers are consistently happier and less prone to regret. Give yourself strict decision deadlines for daily choices. Define what good enough looks like beforehand. Make the choice once that threshold is met, and remind yourself that most decisions are reversible. Overthinking is ultimately a habit, not a character trait. You won't eliminate it overnight, but by consistently applying these tools, you can shorten the duration of mental loops and reclaim your focus for what actually matters. 1. The neurobiology of overthinking: why the brain does it. We can ground the essay in neuroscience by explaining the tug-of-war between 2 key brain networks. The default mode network, DMN, this is the brain's idle network, active when you're ruminating, self-reflecting, or worrying about the future. Overthinking happens when the DMN becomes hyperactive. The task-positive network, TPN, This network turns on when you engage in focused present moment activity. The DMN and TPN are like a seesaw. Activating the TPN through physical movement or sensory focus automatically dials down the DMN's background chatter. 2. A gratitude circuit breaker. We can add a section on how intentional gratitude interrupts the brain's natural negativity bias, our evolutionary tendency to fixate on threats and worst-case scenarios. Practicing targeted gratitude doesn't mean ignoring real problems. It forces the brain to scan for safety and positive evidence, stimulating dopamine and serotonin release and breaking the neurochemical loop of chronic worry.